Those people know exactly what they do, and again I say, don't blame them. They believe that their God has ordained this country to become part of Dar al-Islam, part of the Islamic world, and they, I'm sure, believe that their God has turned our leaders insane, literally insane, so that it can happen. And how can you blame them for thinking they're doing the will of their God? Because it pretty much looks like that when our own leaders sell the pass and allow them to do these things in our country, against our people, against our traditions and our heritage and our religion and everything that we hold dear. It's our leaders we must blame and not any of the immigrants, even those who take advantage of it. Thank you. Yes, thank you. So, it's a shame that you can't hold this piece of one of our people's gravestones, but as I say, I think this piece of stone is fated because it wasn't allowed on Question Time, and tonight it's disappeared. But my thanks to Derek Adams, our manager at Manchester, for finding that and taking the photographs, and they would have said, no, you're lying. And I had with me the photographs of the JCB ripping through these graves. I had the photos of the broken gravestones. I had the whole lot there just waiting to go. But that was not to be. But never mind, because as we'll hear a bit later on, I don't think it matters too much because it turned out all right.
Show them that next time you're on, Nick.
Yeah. I'll take it next time. Yes. And I wanted to say, I wanted to pass it around so you could see it and touch it and feel it. Because I wanted to say that as you did so, remember the kind of people that are commemorated up and down the land by the monuments of our forefathers. And remember that one way or another, all of those contributed to the society that we enjoy today, and all our guests, the welcome ones and the unwelcome ones alike, enjoy today. They're only here, we're only able to accommodate them because generations of our people built the roads, died building the railways, fell off viaducts and died in agony a few weeks later. Our people built the sewers. Our people built this country with their own blood and sweat and tears and broken bones. Nobody else, just us. And I wanted to say, as you held it, remember those of our people who fought for this country. Because time and time again in history, other people, infected with the envy of less happy lands, have wanted to take and conquer this land of ours. And they'd have done it many times over, had it not been for the stubborn heroism of entirely ordinary British peasants for centuries, and poor conscripts and volunteers in the horrible wars of the last centuries, and the men and the women who are still alive who fought in the Second World War, and those who fought more recently, particularly in the one absolutely crystal clear war in the second half of the 20th century, which was justified, in fact one of the few justified in our entire history, which was the Falklands War, which wasn't fought to defend the British inhabitants alongside in Manchester. Unfortunately, it was fought to defend British people thousands of miles across the South Atlantic, every bit as British as the Isle of Wight. And I wanted to ask you to remember what those people who worked for this country and fought for this country, and the millions who have died for this country, that having done that for us, what would they ask you to do? And the answer is very simple. Nothing particularly elaborate or complicated. They would simply ask you, as they ask all of us, as they still do, if you can only feel it, I think all you can, That's why you're here. They would simply ask you to do your duty. And that, of course, is a large part, that is the reason that we picked the name Trafalgar Club and the image of Admiral Lord Nelson for that iconic signal sent out at the start of the Battle of Trafalgar. England expects that every man will do his duty. And throughout those years, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, most of this decade, the old hands, and I know there's other old hands too here tonight, have watched and scratched their heads. What is wrong? We do all we can to warn the British people. We tell them what's going on, but it seems they cannot see. We tell them about the incredible injustices, the unbelievable wickedness forced upon our people, particularly by the elite's multicultural experiment. We tell them about the crimes, the horrors that this puts upon people, very often some of the poorest people of our community, some of the most defenceless, some of the least able to articulate what is being done to them and their families. And we've been telling them that for years, and people say, yes, yes, I agree, it's wicked, isn't it? But it's too late, leave me out of it. No, no, it's not right, and all the rest of it. And we told them for years and nothing's happened. And we've wondered why. Why? What is it? And so often it's because people have said, well, it's not fair. And I think we have thought, because we can see, what are they talking about? And actually, I think I now know. Because what they've been saying is that, yes, we accept, we recognise that this hideous experiment is grotesque and it causes all sorts of horrors. And that one's a criminal and that community is doing terrible things and all the rest. But they've known that some of them, actually quite a lot of them, of our recent guests, are actually wholly decent people. Only here for a better life, in many cases here in Britain, because they admire British values. And they felt that to lump all of them in together as bitter, bitter bad, to say that they are all of them invading our country and wrong and all the rest of it, people have felt it's unfair. And that's what the liberal elite have used against us, our very best quality of wanting to be fair, wanting to be kind, wanting to be decent, being fair and kind and decent, as the British people are more than virtually anyone else on this planet, anyone else in the history of this world. That's been our Achilles heel, our own decency. And I'm absolutely sure that's the problem now, because we've just seen precisely the same thing all of a sudden kick in our favour after question time.
Yeah.
Now, before I talk briefly about question time, I would like to thank from the very bottom of my heart, again, our security team, who got me in there and got me out of there. And it's not just there, it's tonight, it's at event after event after event. It goes on absolutely relentlessly, and they're always there, always reliable, always available at the drop of a hat, not just for me, but for anyone in this party who actually needs it, and it's a really tremendous effort. And they're going to get slated across the board in the newspapers tomorrow, and demands that we remove my henchmen and my heavies and all the rest of it. Not one possibility of that